The grand arena of Zyrel 5 was filled with cheers. Thousands of alien warriors stood in circles wearing sharp armor and colorful war paint. They were strong, tall, and proud. Their culture respected only one thing: raw strength. In the center of the stone arena stood a human, Jack Morrow. He looked small compared to the others. No armor, no weapons, only a plain shirt, boots, and calm eyes. The Zyrelians whispered to each other. "Why is he here? His bones look soft. Does he even lift rocks?" At the edge of the arena, a female warrior stepped forward. She was young but known across the stars. Her name was Raya of the Fire Claws. Her body was lean, but packed with muscle. 2 long blades rested on her back. Her skin shimmered with red tribal paint. She pointed at Jack and laughed loudly. "This is the mighty human Earth sends to greet us?" The crowd laughed with her. Raya walked around him slowly. "You have no horns, no fangs. Your arms are like tree branches, thin and weak." Jack didn't speak. He only looked at her, calm and quiet. She stepped closer. "Say something, human. Or are your words as fragile as your bones?" Jack gave a small smile. "Words don't lift tigers." Raya blinked. The crowd went quiet for a second. Then more laughter. "Tigers. You dream too big." The High Warlord of the Zyrelians, an old and scarred warrior named Druzen, stood from his stone throne. He raised his hand. The arena fell silent. "Let the game speak. Words are wind. Strength is truth." He looked at Jack. "Do you accept the trial of the wild beast Earthman?" Jack looked up at him, voice calm. "I do." Gasps filled the arena. The trial of the wild beast was not for weaklings. It was a test where a warrior had to face the Yarnak Ta, a tiger beast of Zyril jungle. Fast, strong, deadly. No human had ever tried it, until now. Raya stepped forward. Again. "Then I will join the hunt. Let's see if you can even find the beast, little man." Jack nodded. "You'll see more than that." The way he said it, quiet but sure, sent a strange feeling through Raya's chest. Was it doubt? She shook it off. That evening, the warriors prepared for the trial. The arena lights dimmed. The fire drums beat louder. The elders brought out the beast's scent, and the gates to the jungle trial grounds opened. One by one, the selected warriors stepped through, armed with blades, nets, and scanners. Jack walked in last. No armor, no weapon, just his hands. And something in his eyes. Not fear, not pride, but focus. Inside the jungle, shadows danced between the trees. Strange birds screamed, leaves rustled. Somewhere deep in the forest, the tiger beast watched. Raya moved quickly, silent and skilled. She thought Jack would fall behind, but when she turned, he was still near, walking quietly, avoiding every trap, stepping like he belonged to the forest. After an hour, she stopped and looked at him. "How are you so quiet?" Jack didn't answer. He only touched a tree's bark and looked up at the branches. Then softly he said, "We're being watched." Suddenly, a roar. The trees shook. The tiger beast leapt from the shadows, landing between them. It was huge, twice her size, with glowing eyes and striped metal-like skin. It growled at Raya, claws out. She raised her spear, but her hand trembled. "It's faster than I thought." The beast charged at her. She blocked once, then slipped. Her leg hit a rock. She fell back hard. The beast roared and pounced. "No!" She closed her eyes, but before the claws hit her, strong arms caught the beast midair. Jack. He stood above her, muscles bulging, teeth clenched, holding the living tiger beast above his head. The jungle fell silent. Even the beast stopped growling. It looked down at the human holding it, and went still. Raya stared in shock. Her heart raced. "How?" Jack gently set the beast down. It landed softly, looked at him, and walked away. Peacefully. Jack looked at Rhea, offered her a hand. Not all strength is loud. Far above, hidden drones recorded everything. Back in the arena, the High Warlord watched the screen and whispered, "Earthman, what are you?" The trees of Zirel's trial jungle whispered as the warriors entered. The forest was old, older than the throne of Zirel itself. Its giant roots curled like sleeping snakes. The leaves glowed faint green. Strange insects buzzed. And somewhere deep inside, something powerful was waiting. The tiger beast. The Jarnak Ta. Rhea moved like shadow between the trees. Her eyes were sharp, her steps silent. She had trained in these woods since childhood. She knew how to hunt. But today, she wasn't just hunting the beast. She was also watching Jack Morrow, the human who had shocked the galaxy. Jack walked a few steps behind. No armor, no weapon, no fear. He moved calmly, slowly, not like prey, but like someone who already knew how the jungle breathed. Rhea frowned. "You're not scanning. You're not marking the trail. Do you even know what you're doing?" Jack looked at her. "I'm listening." "Listening to what?" He pointed at the trees. "To them." Rhea laughed softly. "Trees don't talk." Jack didn't smile. Not with words. They kept moving. Rhea stepped over a ridge and paused. She saw broken branches, 3 thick claw marks across the bark. "Fresh trail," she whispered. Jack knelt beside it. He touched the claw marks gently. "It's not hunting. It's warning." Rhea raised an eyebrow. "How do you know?" "Because I've tracked predators before, on Earth, in darker forests than this." He looked into the trees. "And I know what it means to be cornered." For a moment, Rhea didn't know what to say. She had mocked him before. But now, she felt something different. Respect? She shook the thought away. As they moved deeper, strange sounds echoed. Snaps, growls, hissing from the treetops. The jungle watched them both. And suddenly, Rhea felt it. The shift. The sound changed. The air grew heavier. They were no longer just walking. They were being hunted. She raised her blade. "It's close," Jack whispered. "Don't show fear. It watches your breath." "Easy for you to say," she muttered. They moved slowly. Then it came, a flash of motion from the side, a blur of silver and orange, the tiger beast. It jumped across the path ahead and vanished again. Rhea tightened her grip. "It's playing." "With us," Jack nodded. "Testing us." He looked around. "It doesn't want to fight. Not yet." Rhea stepped forward. Then, snap. A vine trap caught her ankle. She tumbled, hitting the ground hard. Her blade flew from her hand. The tiger beast appeared instantly, leaping from the shadows, heading straight for her. "Rhea!" But before the beast landed, Jack moved. Fast. Not with panic, but with purpose. He ran straight at the creature and shouted, "Stop!" His voice echoed like thunder through the trees. The tiger beast skidded midair and landed heavily just inches from Rhea's face. It growled, but did not strike. Jack stood between them, hands open. He didn't raise a weapon. He didn't back away. He just stared at the beast. Calm. Steady. Breathing like it was just another moment. The tiger beast stared back. Then, slowly, it lowered its head and sat. Rhea blinked in shock. "It obeyed you." Jack looked at her. "It saw I wasn't afraid." He turned back to the beast. And maybe it saw something familiar. He offered his hand to the tiger. It sniffed, once, then stood, walked slowly to the side, and vanished into the trees. Rhea sat up, breathing hard. "You didn't kill it." "Why should I?" "That's the trial." No, he said softly. The real trial is knowing when not to fight. For the first time, Raya didn't have a clever answer. She looked at Jack, not like a weak human, but like a warrior. A different kind. They returned to the arena hours later. No blood, no trophies, just two warriors, and a silent forest behind them. The High Warlord stood as they entered. "Where is the beast?" Jack answered. "Still alive." The crowd gasped. "You passed. Up the kill?" the Warlord asked. Jack looked at the stars above. "I didn't come to kill a legend, I came to become one." The stars were bright that night. A celebration burned in the arena of Zyrel 5, drums, fire, and cheers echoing through the canyons. Warriors danced, food sizzled, and ale flowed like rivers. The trial was over, and the human had returned. Not dead, not broken, but unchanged. No scars, no roar of victory. Only silence and a wild beast left alive. The elders were confused. The crowd was divided. But Raya was restless. She sat near the fire, jaw clenched, staring at Jack from across the circle. He spoke to no one. He just sharpened a stick with a stone, slowly, like he was in no hurry. "He didn't even try to kill it," she muttered. "Does he think this is peacekeeping? This is war culture." A warrior beside her replied, "He faced the beast and lived. He did what no one else could." "He walked away," she snapped. "That's not strength. That's weakness in disguise." But her voice wasn't loud with confidence. It was tight with doubt. Later, when the crowd began to sleep, she couldn't rest, so she left and went back to the jungle. Alone. She needed to find the beast again, to finish what the trial had started, to prove something, not to her clan, but to herself. Hours passed. The jungle was darker now, colder. Even the leaves whispered different sounds. She moved with care, but inside her heart burned. "I'll find it. I'll face it. I'll win." Then, she heard it. Not the tiger beast. Something. House growl, low, guttural, unfamiliar. And behind it, footsteps. Heavy. Too heavy for the tiger. She turned and saw them. 3 shadow walkers, alien poachers, banned across multiple worlds. They had cloaking suits, razor whips, and tranquilizer darts. They didn't care about honor. They hunted anything rare, and to them, a Zerelian warrior was a prize. Raya reached for her blade, but one of them fired first. Thud. A dart hit her side. Her body slowed. She tried to run, to scream, but her voice stuck in her throat. Her knees buckled. The leader stepped forward, laughing. "Didn't think we'd find a royal blood warrior this deep in the woods." Another kicked, her weapon away. She'll earn good credits, but then a sharp crack, followed by silence. Then a soft thud. Then another. One poacher turned. His partner was gone. Then he dropped too, without a sound. The leader panicked. "Who's there? Show yourself." His body tensed. He fired blindly into the trees, but nothing answered. Until a hand reached from above, grabbing his weapon and bending it in half, like it was a twig. He looked up, into the face of Jack Morrow. The poacher swung a blade. Jack caught it with one hand and crushed it. The poacher froze, eyes wide. What are you?" Jack said nothing. He simply struck once. Fast, clean, final. The last poacher fell. Jack dropped beside Raya. She was dizzy, eyes half open. "You followed me," she whispered. "You walk loud," he said. "Did you kill them?" "Stop them. They had weapons." "I have arms." She looked at him weakly. "You're not what I thought." "You never asked." He lifted her gently in his arms. Her pride wanted to resist, but her body was too tired. She let him carry her, and as her vision faded, she asked softly, "Why help me?" His answer came gently, "Because you needed it." When Raya woke the next day, she was back in the healer's tent. Her body ached, but she was alive, and near her sat Jack, quietly fixing a cracked tool with a piece of jungle bone. She sat up slowly. "I mocked you," she said. "Yes." "And you saved me." "Yes." "Why don't you act proud?" Jack looked at her. "Because real strength doesn't need to be loud." Outside, the warriors began to gather again. A new challenge was being announced, but Raya stayed still, watching Jack, and finally seeing him not as fragile, but as unshakable. The sun rose over Zerel 5 like a fireball on the edge of war. In the center of the arena, the ground was swept. Clean, the banners raised and the drums beat louder than before. Today was not for ceremony, today was for challenge. And all eyes were on one man, Jack Morrow. The High Warlord stood tall on the stone platform. "By the rules of tradition," he shouted, "any who pass the trial of the beast may face the test of bone, a trial of strength." The crowd roared. Aliens with horns and armor beat their fists against their chests. Jack stood alone in the ring, no armor, no war paint, just his hands wrapped in cloth. Beside the arena, Raya watched from the healer's tent. Her arm still sore, her pride still healing. She had not spoken much since the night Jack saved her, but her eyes followed his every move now, not with judgment, with curiosity. The test of bone was simple, but brutal. 3 challenges. Lift the weight of a firestone, break a shield with bare hands, and face one warrior in a raw test of strength. Raya had passed it when she was 15, but none had ever attempted it without gear. No one, except Jack. The first test was ready. A firestone, a glowing block pulled from the heart of a starship engine, dense, heavy, nearly immovable. 2 Zyrelians had failed to lift it earlier that year. Jack walked to it, placed his hands underneath, and lifted. Not fast, not flashy, but steady. The crowd gasped as the stone rose above his shoulders. He held it for 10 long seconds, then set it down, softly. The elders looked at one another in silence. Second test, a royal combat shield, made of forged metal and impact steel. Jack was to break it, with bare hands. A joke, many thought. He stepped forward, ran his fingers across the shield's surface, then, in one smooth motion, grabbed the edge and bent it backward. Crack. It split in 2. No one cheered. They only stared. The strength didn't look explosive. It looked controlled, natural. Like gravity had stopped mattering to him. Raya stood slowly. She felt her chest tighten. "How?" she whispered. The final test. A warrior chosen by the crowd, a large Zyrelian named Harnock, twice Jack's size, stepped into the ring. He smiled wide. "Let's see if those soft bones can wrestle." The test began. Harnock charged, arms wide. Jack didn't flinch. He stepped aside, caught the arm, spun, and brought Harnock to the ground in one fluid move, without force. Without pain, with skill. The crowd was silent. Then, cheers exploded from all sides. Jack didn't raise his hands. He simply bowed to Harnock and stepped back. The High Warlord raised his voice. "Human of Earth, we mocked your bones. But you showed us strength that bends, not breaks." He looked to the sky. "You passed the test of bone." That night, as torches lit the city, Raya found Jack sitting alone, again sharpening sticks. She sat beside him. No words for a while. Only the sound of flame and stone, then, "Your strength," she said. "It doesn't shout." "No," he replied. "It listens." "I thought power was only in muscle, fire, noise." "You were taught that," he said. "And you?" Jack smiled gently. "I was broken once. Then I learned. Some bones grow back stronger." She looked at him. "Why didn't you fight harder in the beginning?" "Because real power," Jack said, doesn't rush to prove itself. For the first time in her life, Raya didn't want to fight someone stronger. She wanted to learn from them, and so began something new between them. Not a challenge, not rivalry, but respect. In a world of war cries, the one who whispered changed everything. The sky over Zyrel 5 rumbled with a quiet storm. Far from the arena, in the quiet training caves under the cliffs, Jack Morrow stood with his hands in cold water, eyes closed, listening to the dripping of stone. Raya watched from the entrance. She had followed him, not out of suspicion, but something else now. Curiosity, respect, and something she couldn't yet name. He had lifted a tiger beast, broken a warrior's shield, bent steel with bare hands, but he still sat alone, still silent, still hiding something. She stepped inside. "You meditate like a monk," she said, trying to sound light. Jack didn't open his eyes. "Do you want to ask it?" he said. She blinked. "Ask what?" He opened his eyes now. Calm. Sharp. "You've been wondering since the arena. What makes a human move like a storm but speak like a ghost?" She froze, then slowly nodded. "Yes." He stood, drying his hands on cloth. "Then follow me." They walked through the tunnels, past echoing chambers and forgotten weapons. Finally, they reached a sealed vault. Jack placed his hand on the scanner. It opened. Inside were earth relics, faded uniforms, small tools, and a locked black box. He opened it. Inside lay a thin metal strip with glowing lines. He pulled back his shirt sleeve and attached it to a port beneath his skin. Raya stared. "You're enhanced?" Jack nodded. "Not by choice." He sat on a nearby crate, voice low but steady. 10 years ago, I was a mechanic on a human warship, not a soldier, just a builder fixing broken things. One day, pirates attacked us. We lost engines. My captain was dying. I volunteered to help power the ship, with a prototype implant. It was supposed to last 1 hour. It lasted 7. I kept the core alive with my body. He looked at his hands. After that, I couldn't go back to Earth. The enhancements made people afraid. My bones became denser. My heart beat slower. My strength grew. But so did the silence around me. Raya sat beside him now, quiet. "You were turned into a weapon." "No," he said. "I was made into a tool. But I chose what I built with it." He looked at her. "And now, I build peace." She reached toward his arm, gently touched the place where metal met skin. "Is that why you don't raise your voice?" "Because I once did," he said, eyes distant. "And I destroyed something I loved." Silence filled the cave again, but not a cold silence, a heavy one, full of truth. Raya whispered, "I called you fragile. I mocked your bones." He smiled slightly. "And I let you, because words don't cut as deep as loneliness." She stood now. "The others should know. You should tell them. They don't need to know what's under my skin." He looked at her. "Just what I stand for." She nodded. But something had changed inside her. This wasn't just a strong human. This was a soul forged in pain. Quiet, patient, powerful. As they left the vault, Raya paused. "Do you still fix things?" Jack looked at her, brow raised. "Yes." "Then maybe," she said slowly, "you could help fix something broken in me too." He smiled gently. "That's how it begins." Outside, lightning struck the far hills. A new storm was coming. But this time, Jack wouldn't face it alone. The warriors of Zyrel 5 trained with loud grunts, heavy weapons, and earth-shaking stomps. But deep behind the arena, under the shade of the old stone archways, one warrior trained in silence. Raya. Once loud, proud and sharp-tongued, now barefoot, eyes closed, arms stretched like branches in the wind. She moved slowly, deliberately, breathing in, breathing out. Standing across from her was Jack Morrow. He said nothing. He simply copied the motion with perfect balance. Again, he said softly. Raya lowered her arms, sweat dripping from her brow. This doesn't feel like strength. It's not, Jack said. It's control. But what does this do in a real fight? Jack pointed at her. You've always fought like fire. What happens when fire burns too hot? She didn't answer. He stepped closer. It consumes everything, even itself. Raya didn't know why, but she felt those words deep inside. Maybe because once she had burned too hot, and it had made her blind. For the next week, she trained with Jack daily. He never shouted, never rushed, never hit her. But somehow, she felt herself growing faster, stronger, lighter, and calmer. They lifted stones in silence, balanced on logs over streams, practiced catching falling leaves with closed eyes, and every night they sat near the campfire without speaking, just listening to the sounds of the wind and their own breathing. One night she finally spoke. I used to think strength was winning. Jack stirred the fire. It is. Then what is this? She asked. This silence, this waiting. Jack looked up. Winning. Without destroying. That's real strength. The next day, the warlord summoned them both. A duel will be held tomorrow, he said. You will face Sarik of the Iron Talons. Me? Raya asked, surprised. He insulted the human, called him a trick, a fake. He wants a public match. Raya looked at Jack. Should I fight him for you? Jack didn't answer. He just gave a small nod and a calm smile. That evening, Jack gave her a small object, a round stone, smooth and black. What is it? She asked. I carried it for years, he said, when I was scared, when I was alone. And now? Now I carry peace instead. He placed the stone in her hand. Now it's your turn. The next day, the arena filled again. Crowds gathered, ready for another wild, loud, brutal fight. Sarik stepped in, heavy and tall, his blade shining. You should have sent the human, he shouted. He needs protecting. Raya walked in quietly. No weapons, just the stone in her hand. The bell rang. Sarik charged. Raya stood still. At the last moment, she stepped aside. He stumbled. She turned, light as air, and tapped his leg with her foot. Not a strike, a reminder. Your balance is wrong, she said softly. He roared and swung again. She ducked, danced around him, guided his momentum. He tripped and hit the ground. Gasps filled the arena. Raya stood tall, breathing steady. Sarik tried to rise, but her foot was already near his chest. Yield, she said calmly. Sarik blinked, then nodded. The crowd was stunned. They expected rage. She gave grace. They expected thunder. She gave quiet control. Raya walked out of the ring. Jack waited for her outside. She placed the black stone in his hand. I don't need it anymore. He smiled. I know. Later that night they sat near the fire again, but this time Raya's silence felt different. Not heavy, not unsure, just full. You changed me, she said finally. Jack looked up. No, you were always changing. You just finally slowed down enough to notice. She smiled, then whispered, I don't want to be feared anymore. I want to be respected. Jack nodded once. Then your strength is now real. Above them, the stars moved slowly. And far away, the name, Raya, was beginning to change in meaning. No longer the wildfire of the clan, but the warrior of calm. In the middle of Zirel's great plaza, a statue was rising. It was not of a warrior swinging a blade, not of a commander shouting war cries, not even of a beast being slain. It showed a man, bare-handed, lifting a living tiger beast over his head. And beside him, not behind, stood a warrior woman, calm and proud. The names carved beneath, Jack Morrow Raya of the Balancet, had been 3 moons since the trial. But the story had spread across 7 systems. A human had faced a legendary beast and spared it. He had passed every test of strength without weapons. He had defeated enemies with peace. And he had changed a proud warrior's heart without ever raising his voice. In the training yard, young Zarelians now balanced on logs instead of lifting weights. They caught falling leaves, practiced stillness. Move like the human, the elders said. Strong, but never loud. Raya stood at the edge of the plaza, watching builders put the final piece of the statue in place. She was dressed in new armor, sleek, light, without spikes, not for war, for teaching. Jack walked up beside her, wiping grease from his hands. He had just repaired a cooling pipe near the plaza's center. He still worked, still fixed things. They gave you your own statue, Raya said with a small smile. Jack shrugged. I didn't ask for one. And that's exactly why they gave it. The crowd slowly gathered for the ceremony. The High Warlord stood, speaking to the people. He came to us small and quiet. We mocked him, we misunderstood him. And he taught us that true power is not always loud, that mercy is not weakness, that calm is not surrender. He lifted a tiger but carried something heavier. Wisdom. The crowd clapped with honor, not wild cheers, but deep, slow respect, not just for Jack, but for what he represented. Later, Raya and Jack walked together through the garden paths of the high cliffs. You changed everything here, she said quietly. No, Jack replied. We did. Do you, Miss Earth? He thought for a moment. Earth didn't see me. Not really. But this world saw everything. He looked at her. Even the parts I tried to hide. They paused at the waterfall. Its slow rhythm matched their breathing. Raya finally asked, You never finished the story. What story? The night you said you destroyed something you loved. Jack was silent. Then, softly, he said, Back on Earth, I once lost control. Hurt someone by accident. Not with fists, with words, with silence. I walked away from it all. But now, I walk toward things, even when I'm afraid. Raya touched his hand. You built peace for others. She looked into his eyes. Now let someone build it for you. He didn't speak, but for the first time since arriving on Zyrel, Jack reached out and held her hand back. No crowd, no statues, no trial, just 2 people. Balanced. That night, the stars above the city blinked brighter than usual, and across space, stories were told around campfires and bunkers. There was once a man from a quiet world. They said his bones were too soft, but he lifted a tiger. And with it, lifted a warrior's heart. And that is why, even today, on Zyrel, Earth, and beyond, when a child feels weak or unheard, they remember. Strength is not how loud you roar. It's how still you stand when the galaxy watches.